With the less than recent channel rebrand, I've decided to sort of give you an update on what's happening with my Doctor Who series, with the channel at large, and where I plan to go from here. Now, I want to start by sort of explaining how I approached the previous Doctor Who series and what's going on. When I wrote the first episode, I was not very familiar with Doctor Who, hence why the characters are as flat and generic as they could possibly be, and the plot is entirely lifted from a Doctor Who 2012 episode. I'm not very proud of this. On top of this, the story has almost no distinct visual style, and it's about as bare bones and generic and simple as a Doctor Who episode can be. The villain's motivations are never fully explored, the companion is never fully explored in this episode or in the later ones, the Doctor is never fully explored, and ultimately it feels like a very poor attempt. After the first episode came out, I was stunned at the numbers it got. The number of views were 20 times the number I was used to. From this, I decided to rush the second episode into production. The script had recently been finished, and I figured, I could get this out by September. I've got the entire summer to work on it. So I got voice acting from people, and they started dropping out. I had to end up cutting entire subplots and entire characters out because I didn't have the voice acting for it. Beyond that, this had a number of similar issues to the first one. There was no visual style, everything was way too brightly lit, and there was no character. We never explore why the Ice Warriors are doing things, we never explore what that crystal they had was, though I did plan on developing on that in later episodes. And ultimately, the entire experience felt very, very, very boring. A clear indicator of that is how little the Ice Warriors are actually used in the episode that they're featured in. The reason for this is ultimately because the Ice Warrior figures I had couldn't properly move. I could try and animate them, but they were top-heavy, so they always fell over. And when they didn't fall over, pieces of them fell off. The Ice Warriors could barely be animated, and because of this, the episode didn't feature them near as much as they should have. But at the time, I thought, I've still got to make this, and I've got to make it like the script says, so I ultimately rushed the whole thing into production without considering what I was actually capable of animating, what I was actually capable of building, and what the final product would look like. And this problem plagues the third one, to the point where I'm not even going to release Modern Utopia. So the Doctor and Jane McIntyre, who by the way will get no more development in this episode, they land in Victorian London. They very quickly come across this coach, this police coach that speeds by, and they quickly catch up to them and discover a body. And the policemen, instead of holding the Doctor back, are like, "Sure, I trust you, come, take a look." So they come back at night to examine the body and discover that the man was a reporter. Meanwhile, while the Doctor and Jane are doing this, a cop ends up meeting the Master. Basically, there would have been this old man who moved into the area, and he was the Master. I would never have explained why he moved into the area. I would never have fully explained why he was there. Ultimately, he was there. I never went into detail as to why. And this police officer dies. He comes into the Master's laboratory and he dies. To make a long story short, the Doctor and Jane discover the Master's laboratory, and then the Master says, "Oh yes, I've been experimenting on the Rift in London." Now, again, I wrote this around 2013, 2014, around there. The Rift isn't in London. The Rift is in Cardiff. I didn't know this at the time. And on top of that, the Master would have enslaved... If you remember in Torchwood, there were the Weevils, those weird sort of vaguely ape-men-looking creatures, and the Master would have enslaved them. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to build a Weevil, so I just sort of made these weird creatures and rewrote it to be these other monsters, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was never fully clear on how it was going to end, but the Doctor ends up closing the rift after the Master opens it. There would have been a fight between the TARDIS and some pterodactyls, and that's the episode. As for the future of the series, I do not want to stop. However, I don't want to continue with Jane McIntyre or my Doctor in his current form. I might do a major time skip, I might just write a new incarnation of the Doctor, I might do all sorts of things. I don't like the direction that it's currently going, and I feel that before I write these sorts of things, I really should figure out the Doctor I want to write about, the story, the themes, the ideas, the companion, everything. Everything needs to be sorted out beforehand. And I think that there will be a clear difference between the Doctor Who that I wrote before and the stuff that I end up writing after having learned all of this. So this is Formal Lens Archives now. This is where all of my older videos are going to be posted, all of my behind the scenes videos, and occasionally some updates. Formal Lens, my primary channel, which there's a link in the description, is going to be where all my further work is posted. This might not just be stop motion, I might do some live action at some point. Beyond this, links to the Facebook page, the Twitter, and possibly an Instagram will all be posted in the description. I thank you all very much for watching, and hope you follow me over to my main channel for whatever comes next.